Discovering Databricks. Today we are looking at the resources, and we want our resources to display the resource type. If we go back to the list here, we can see that the resource type here is router, and if we look at this Argus server here, it's a Windows server. And we have our resources in the template list. These are the optional resources we have, and we could add many more. It could be anything from a system, server, customer, car, you name it. A computer could also be a resource. So let's say we add a car. Registration number. We want brand, perhaps, and date for next service. You could put anything in here. And now we have this car option here, so we could create a new resource that is a car, for instance. But we want to show what types we have in all our lists. So if we go in here, we would like to show what type it is in here. And when we go in and check the related resource, if we want to add a new one, for instance, we also want the template ID here. And the important thing here is that this gets its value from a child lookup. So it's looking into the child resource alias table. But this one is probably looking into the, now this one is also looking into the child resource because it's a child resource of this resource. But this one is looking into the actual resource. And we would like to have all of them look into the same one. So let's see how we do that. We have our template ID here. This is just showing template ID. But in our resource list, the template is set calculated value, where it does a clear move find. And if we're going to be honest, this is not something we want to use too much in the future. So we want to try to rewrite this as an SQL as well. And if we start to move this into the resource data dictionary, we could create a procedure resource type that takes an integer of iResource ID that we want the type from, and it should returns a string. So now we want to create a query, and since this is a really small query, we might want to just write it directly here. Select name from resource where ID equals template ID. And yes, it is the template ID we want in here. And we want to move that to sQuery. So we need a string sQuery. And now we want to send SQL prepare. of GHO SQL executor is query. And then we want to send SQL set parameter SQL executor, and then we want this parameter to be set to this value. And when that is done, we want to get SQL execute of GHO SQL executor to a string array is result set. Now we want to move 0 to I row. So we also want an integer I row here. And while size of array is result set is greater than I row, we want to loop this, and then we want to move the result I row to resource type. We want to create that there, and then add it here. And since we expect the first result to be the correct one, we just want to do function return resource type. And if it's not found, then we do a function return just a minus, so that we can see that there is something we get in return. And what we want to do here in our resource list is we want to change this code and then just get a resource type what's the name of the game? Resource data dictionary resource type of resource data dictionary, and we need the input, which is the resource dot template ID, and we want to set that to as value because that is what we are showing in our list. So let's see how that works. Get resource type of resource DD. This should be a function, of course. All right. Yeah. So now, as you can see, we have the minus here because this one doesn't have a template. And then we have the Windows server and the router. So this one works. But now when we go in here, this template still shows a number. So we want to go into the resource zoom. We want to copy this code. And in our template ID, we don't want to have this. Actually, we want to copy all of it. We don't want this. We want it to call the resource DD on the resource. But here we're actually looking at the child resource. So if we run this one and go in here, now it says router, so it actually works. But the question is, does it work here as well? Now here it says 0, because here we don't have access to the resource data dictionary. We only have the child resource data dictionary. So let's see what happens when we go in and copy this code, child resource web lookup. And we have the list. There is the template ID. We remove the entry item so that we can use the onset calculated value. And now when we call this, let's see, it's compiling. So far, so good. But we get an error because we don't have the resource type in the child resource. Yeah, stop this one. But we would like to, because this is the way we do things. So in order to fix that, we need to add a new file. See how we do that. New class, perhaps. C object. Let's call that Mixin resource type. Yes. So we have a default class, and we want to copy our resource type function over here. And then we want to use this one in here. So we use the Mixin resource type, and then we just write import class protocol Mixin resource type. And we want to do the same in the child resource data dictionary. So this one, we also want to import the class protocol and use Mixin resource type. And this should most certainly solve the last piece of the problem. It works here. It still works in the list, even though we removed it. And if we click edit and go in and look here, get resource type. Yeah, of course. Now we're not getting it from the resource. We're actually getting it. There we have the web lookup of the data dictionary that we have here, that we added it to the child resource data dictionary. So we need to use that. Resource and edit. And there is none of them actually with the type, so we just want to add a new one. So test server. It's a Windows server. We save that. So now we have a Windows test server here. Yeah, we don't really need to add much, but we could go in and edit. And now we should see that we have Windows server and router on these. So we could connect the main router to the server, and now as we click here to the main router, we can see that the main router is connected both to the Argus server and the test server, and they are both Windows servers. So with that little mixin, we can have one function call that is used by these two different classes. And that was all for this video. Hope you liked it, and I see you in the next one. Bye for now.